A few headlines now on this former IRS employee who's talking. Biden and the whistleblower. Single headline there. The walls are closing in on Biden. And this comparison to one of the biggest political scandals in United States history. Whistleblower could be the deep throat against Hunter and Joe. Here's a quote from one of the op-eds. All of this could reach Watergate proportions. Take away the names and the political parties and just look at the apparent content of the allegations. The misuse of the DOJ and perhaps other federal agencies to cover up a crime. Check. Actual material interference with an investigation. Check. Deliberate lies to Congress. Check. And worse than Watergate, a president who may have profited not just politically, but financially. In focus now, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, Republican from the great state of Kentucky. Good to have you in focus today. Break down what you think are the highest stakes of all in what we're learning.
Well, what we're learning is the federal government has known for a long time that at least Hunter Biden was very involved in shady business schemes with adversaries around the world. And at the very least, Harris, he wasn't paying taxes on all this money that he was receiving from our adversaries. I'm going to go a step further after spending over 2 weeks in the Treasury cabinet looking at these bank violations and say, this isn't just about the president's son. This is the entire Biden family. The number of LLCs, the number of bank violations, the great lengths to which this family has gone to disguise the source of these excessive, questionable wires they're getting from countries around the world that end up in their personal bank account is alarming. And this is something that I think the IRS whistleblower knows about. This is something that everyone in the federal government knows has been going on. They're very frustrated that nothing's happened. And I think you're going to see more whistleblowers come forward and expose the truth on exactly what this family's doing with respect to influence peddling.
There has to be a little irony pointed out. I mean, this is a president who took a whole pot of cash of our tax money to hire 87,000 extra IRS agents to go after Americans. He said it would be the richest among us, but we all know it's everybody who can't afford to have a tax attorney. And you look at that, and now the whistleblower, potentially even more of them, is coming directly from the IRS.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every time Joe Biden says we're going to go after tax cheats, I just gasp because I've been looking into this for several months now, and there's no bigger tax cheat than the Biden family. And let me reiterate this. It's the Biden family. It's not just Hunter Biden. It's not just Hunter Biden and Jim Biden. It's multiple members of this family that have been receiving questionable sums of money for reasons that we haven't yet determined. But I can tell you, it's all pointing back to Joe Biden. And as I said on Sean Hannity's show the other day, the walls are closing in on the Biden family. It's not just the president's son. It's the entire family, including the president of the United States. There's no rhyme or reason for A, how much money they've gotten from these foreign countries, and B, the way they've tried to hide, not just from the American people, but from the IRS, the money that they've been receiving.
Just to remind everybody, the number that we're looking at in terms of Biden family members now has burst this week up to 9. It's hard to get 9 people to agree on anything unless you are paying them. The suspicious activity reports also, we're learning more about that journey too. All of this is the president now has decided he's going to announce. Can he get out in front of this?
No. There's no explaining this. The mainstream media didn't cover the first drop that we disclosed to the American people about the $1 million wire from the Chinese Communist Party to 3 or 4 Biden family members. They didn't really cover when I said we've now discovered 9 Biden family members that were getting wires. But this IRS whistleblower, they're having to start to cover this. And there will be more. This whistleblower will lead to more whistleblowers coming forward. There's no explaining the amount of money and the way they were trying to launder it into the Biden personal bank account. There's no way to explain that for Joe Biden.
Chairman Comer, a lot of discussion about the debt ceiling plan right now. And the House Speaker has been saying all along, really want to negotiate with the president on this. There are some things that we can do as a nation to cut, so on and so forth. Congress can get that done. Now, President Biden, again, is refusing to talk to Speaker McCarthy. And it's causing actually anxiety within both political parties. Democrats are pushing for negotiations, telling Axios the two should always talk. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin really laid into the president with this. It has been more than 78 days since President Biden last met with Speaker McCarthy. This signals a deficiency of leadership. If Democrats are stressed out, the White House is getting downright testy. Let's watch.
2011 during the debt ceiling fight then, and due in part to the gridlock over that issue. Is the president risking the same and Congress by dragging out this process?
It's not the president that's risking this.
Well,
it is
right?
It is Congress. It is Congress that is risking this. These political stunts that you're seeing from Speaker McCarthy and the MAGA wing.
I guess the question is, isn't the ball in the president's court?
I already answered the question, Kristen, many, many times.
Testy. She went on to say, that press secretary, MAGA House Republicans are holding the American economy hostage. Biden this week called the GOP proposal wacko notions. Look, let's get real about the fact that there is a Republican plan. Let's get real about the fact that for right now, McCarthy's not on the president's schedule, and you can't go forth if those two men don't talk.
That's exactly right. And what a disgrace coming from the White House that they refuse to not only negotiate with the majority party in the House of Representatives, but try to spread disinformation. You know, they're trying to attack us for having the audacity to try to tighten the belt of the federal government. We cannot continue to spend trillions more than we take in every year. If the economy is as strong as Joe Biden claims it is, then now is the time to try to balance this budget or take steps to balance the budget. So I think more Democrats are going to come forward. The Democrats are starting to realize that they have a wounded president of the United States. He's been an embarrassment on the world stage. His policies aren't working. He doesn't look good on TV. He's frail. He's not being honest with the American people about the scandals in his family. And they expect him to lead at some point with respect to these budget negotiations. So I think you're going to see Democrats in Congress, like Joe Manchin, start to stand up to Joe Biden and say, do your job and negotiate with the majority party of the House of Representatives.
Well, look, it's going to take more than Joe Manchin, because he folded on the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, let's just get that real, too.
That's a disappointment.
Chairman Comer, always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.